Rhino is probably gonna be one of the first Warframes you're going to pick up. He is incredibly good at surviving, allowing you to boost your weapon damage, support your team, and also incredibly good throughout the whole of the game, steel path or not. In today's video we have an extremely good tanking build for our beloved Rhino. We also have a beginner build for you guys that are trying to get into Rhino, make him a little bit more survivable, and of course we have a little bit of nuking, and it is circumstantial, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Before we do, a like, a subscribe, always appreciated by me, thank you very much, and Toasted Spectre, thank you so much for being a channel member. And now let's get into Rhino. Rhino was one of my first Prime Warframes, actually my first ever Prime Warframe, and he is very good at one thing, and the one thing that he's good at, he's extremely good, as you may be seeing by the millions of iron skin that I have. Now, how do we reach this point? Well, we want to cover first the abilities and then the passive. Now, the passive actually is going to be the first thing, and that is going to be when you fall, you're going to have a little blast radius shockwave, and that's going to do impact damage and knock enemies down. Cool. It's not going to be that useful, but we're going to move on to the first ability, Rhino Charge. You basically charge into enemies, knocking them around, pushing them away, and with Ironclad Charge, this augment mod right here, you are able to gain armor as well, which is going to be very beneficial because of Iron Skin. Iron Skin is another layer of health and also your second ability on top of your already existing shields and health. This is overguard, this is basically, as I said, another health bar. This all depends on damage taken, or your armor values, your power strength as well, but I'll show you how to get millions, do not worry. Roar is the third ability. This increases your Warframe's damage and also increases your weapons damage and the damage of abilities, so this is going to be very good and almost has to be always active. And then we have Rhino Stomp. Stomps into ground with Rhino Stomps, and then he lifts enemies up, does a little bit of blast damage, and they stay lifted up through the duration of the ability. You go pew pew pew, shoot them down, and that's it. It's a cool ability, it's a fun ability, but I used it to put in parasitic armor. Now, parasitic armor sacrifices shields for armor, and in this case we don't really need shields, and the more we have, the merrier it's gonna be, because the more armor we have, the more iron skin we have. And now, we have covered all of that. What we want to cover is probably the Warframe itself, but before we do, we want to cover the nuking aspect in quotation marks. Now, nuking comes from the weapon itself. The best weapons that I could recommend that I love using on him is going to be the Kuva Brahma. This makes him into a flying bomber jet. As long as you can fly above enemies, you're infinitely survivable, they're not going to kill you, and with Roar active, this weapon and this build does a lot of damage. It is incredibly good, one-shot acolytes, and I think this setup with this, you could probably go and game steel path. The other two weapons that I really like is going to be the Torrid as well. You can also use the Boar, but the Torrid is really fun for me, and you can also use the Archon Prime and Cornin. With these three weapons, I really love playing Rhino, secondaries and or melee. It is completely up to you. I don't honestly have a recommendation here. I use the Epitaph and the Hate Cornin, but it is completely up to you. It doesn't really matter. If you want to nuke, you want an AoE primary. For beginners, I'll talk about that a little bit later. We want to cover the Warframe build. Now, Rhino consists of growing power in the aura slot, primed redirection, primed vigor, then we have Ironclad Charge, umbral fiber, we have umbral intensify, streamline, transient fortitude, and then blind rage. We have arcane tanker and arcane energize alongside coactional drift, which can be changed out for power drift if you don't have coactional drift, and or cunning drift, for example, if you prefer a little bit more range. The honest two recommendations would be either power or coactional in my opinion. Now, Arcane Tanker, what does this do? Arcane Tanker, when you summon your Archgun inside of a mission, you are gonna gain 1200 armor for 60 seconds. If you don't have this, use Arcane Guard Guardian. You can gain a little bit of armor through that. It is a little bit less but more convenient considering you don't have to summon an Archon. Now, we want to cover the shards before we go into anything else. These shards, we have 2 red ones, 15 and 15 power strength, and then 1 for 10 power strength. And then we have 2, one giving us 75 energy, and then the other one giving us 50 respectively. We don't have Prime Flow here. If you want, you can put it on, but in my honest use case scenario, Streamline works completely fine. Now, the Focus School. Yes, the Focus School is going to be Mother. I think we all knew it. I think it can become a drinking game. How many videos I use this? Power Sling, and Sling Strength. These two giving you casting speed and power strength. Amazing. Who doesn't love that? More Iron Skin. And then the companion is going to be Nautilus, or Nautilus Prime, which is coming out today, or I guess yesterday for you guys because you're watching this video a little bit later. But Nautilus and Nautilus Prime, you can use either one. They're basically completely the same. There you go. That's what it looks like. And now you might be wondering, how does this build work out? Now, basically, what you need to do, follow these easy steps. Summon your Archon. You're in a mission, of course, you already started it. You summon your Archon, and then what you want to do is activate Iron Skin, just so you gain a little bit for survivability. Then gain energy through any means possible. You can activate Roar, you can activate Drawing Power, sling around a little bit, and then group up enemies with Nautilus, and then Rhino Charge into them. With all of those buffs active, the average amount that you're going to gain, depending on how much damage taken as well, because it does scale off of that, keep that in mind, Iron Skin that is, and you can gain somewhere around 2 million. Now, you can gain more, but it also depends on how many enemies are around you. It depends on how many enemies you actually hit, and activates, for example, Growing Power deactivated itself, so you activate it again, many different things, but you can get guaranteed millions. If you have something like Arcane Guardian and something like the beginner build up on screen. Now, this is something where you're sort of aiming for the same thing, it's just much less efficient. This could carry you out through possibly a beginner steel path, but I wouldn't push it beyond that. I would recommend you use the other build. But the arcanes are not necessary. You can have them, but you don't need to have them. Those are some that I put on that I think would be quite useful. The weapon for beginners is actually the Exceltro and or the Ignis Wraith. These two weapons for Rhino are really good, especially when you buff them up. Especially the Exceltro. I don't know, a lot of people hate the Exceltro. I love the Exceltro. I think it's one of the best weapons. It applies a lot of slash and also a lot of viral, so it's really good. If you can get that, buff it up with Roar, you can actually even handle Acolytes without any issues. So this is sort of a good beginner weapon, and especially with Roar, you're going to be killing enemies even faster. So that was the beginner build. That was the Rhino build in general. This is what you are sort of aiming for. Basically, try to get yourself a really good AoE weapon. Use what I said and tips on how to gain as much and as much Iron Skin as you possibly can, and just survive and make Steel Path easy as pie for you guys. And that has been it. Me, Gaming Weasel. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I made Rhino for you guys incredibly easy to make, and of course I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, a comment down below on what you think of the build, and do subscribe for more. This has been the Gaming Weasel, over and out.